It was a Tuesday, the kind of day that's supposed to slip by unnoticed, like the plain middle kid of the week. I was halfway through a lukewarm breakfast taco, zoning out in a Zoom meeting I had no business pretending to follow, when the ground started shaking. At first, I thought it was just a neighbor down the street, maybe tearing up their driveway or building some doomsday bunker. But when I yanked open the blinds, there was a guy in a blinding orange vest, jackhammering the stone path to my front porch like it had personally insulted him. He paused, shot me a thumbs up, and went right back to pulverizing my property. I stormed outside, taco still in hand, barefoot on the grass, and yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" He wiped his brow and said, "Cool as you please, HOA work order. Path's not up to code." Then he turned back to his machine like I was just a speed bump in his day. That was my first run-in with the HOA landscaping crew, and let me tell you, it was only the start of the madness. Later that day, I found a crumpled notice in my mailbox, not even in an envelope, just a flyer with a fancy seal. It read, "Immediate Landscape Compliance Initiative, pre-approved under Section 9.4, Exterior Uniformity." I'd skimmed the HOA rules when I moved in, mostly while binge-watching a Netflix drama, and I sure didn't remember signing up for a jackhammer invasion. But there, at the bottom of the notice, was my name, scrawled in a signature that looked like a raccoon had dipped its paw in ink. That night, my neighbor Tim leaned over the fence while I was trying to fix a garden gnome they'd knocked over. He glanced around, all shifty, and whispered, "Just go with it, man. They don't like pushback." Then he vanished into his house like he'd just spilled a mob secret. By Wednesday, things got weirder. 3 more workers showed up. One was trimming a hedge that didn't exist on the side of my house. Another was painting my mailbox white again, even though it was already white. The third? She was in my backyard with a clipboard and one of those little wheels you see at marathons, measuring my lawn circumference. I marched out and asked, "What's this about?" She didn't even look up, just said, "Mapping curvature variance. Your grass grows at inconsistent gradients." Then she muttered something about needing to level the emotional tone of the yard. I stood there, wondering if I'd stumbled into a prank show, waiting for a camera crew to pop out. But no, this was real. Then came Karen, the HOA VYC president, striding onto my lawn like she'd just conquered a corporate boardroom. She wore a beige VY sore with "Compliance is Kindness" stitched on it and clutched a laminated binder stuffed with diagrams, citations, and creepiest of all satellite photos of my yard. She spoke in clipped HR manager tones, saying things like, "We're activating your property for alignment remediation," as if she were launching a missile. I tried to argue, pointing at the forged signature on the notice. She just smiled like I was a kid who'd colored outside the lines and said, "It's all in the community streamlining package you opted into. Page 42, subsection 12. I told her I'd never seen page 42. She said it was hidden in the online portal until full compliance is triggered. Whatever that meant. By Thursday, they'd power wash my driveway, so hard it looked like a slab of deli meat. Someone swapped my garden lights for these eerie blue solar orbs that glowed like alien eggs at night. My dog, Muffin, barked at them until they installed a K9 bark diffuser, a white noise machine blasting ocean waves so loud it scared off every bird in the neighborhood. I put up security cameras because stuff was disappearing. A pink flamingo I'd bought on a whim in Miami, my wind chime gone. I caught one worker, Mike, burying something in my flower bed. When I called him out, he said it was compliance mulch. I dug it up later. It was an HOA pamphlet wrapped around a lavender sachet. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream, so I did both. I called my ex, Sarah, a real estate lawyer who hated suburban tyrants with a passion. We hadn't talked in a year, but when I said the HOA's planting surveillance bushes, she was at my door in 15 minutes with a notepad and a flask. We're VYEU'd the camera footage together. One clip showed a worker planting a weed by my roses, only for another to snap a photo and slap me with a citation for invasive growth. Sarah paused the VY Deo, took a swig, and whispered, "That's entrapment by dandelion." She leaned back and said, "You're in deeper than I thought." That night, a new violation notice appeared on my door. Unauthorized gnome residency. Immediate removal required. By morning, the gnome was gone, replaced by a tiny HOA sign that read, "This yard is under beautification management." I stood there, holding the sign, wondering if I was losing my mind. Then I saw them 3 workers in my backyard. One was peeing in my koi pond. The other 2 were arguing over whether my missing gnome was a religious icon. That's when I knew they wouldn't stop. Not unless I went nuclear. By Friday, my lawn looked like a Martha Stewart war zone. The grass was manicured to death, the bushes trimmed into weird, geometric blobs, and someone had installed a bubbling, acorn-shaped fountain I never asked for. I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in days, haunted by VY signs of Karen's VY soar and the hum of HOA-approved sprinklers. I tried calling the HOA office, but got a recording. Due to overwhelming satisfaction, your call cannot be completed. Compliance is its own reward. It hung up on me. I started to suspect Karen had taken out the rest of the board and crowned herself lawn dictator. Desperate, I threw a block-wide barbecue to rally the neighbors. I grilled chicken, hung paper lanterns, and hoped for a crowd. I got Tim and his wife, who only showed up for root beer floats, and a kid named Ethan who came for the chips. The rest of the neighbors hid behind their curtains, like I was peddling black market gnomes. Tim leaned in and whispered, "People are scared, man. They took Janet's birdbath last month for excessive algae." I asked how that was legal. He just shook his head. "It's not about legal. It's about Karen." Then Sarah rolled up in her beat-up Prius, clutching a manila folder and a 6-pack. She eyed the empty lawn chairs and muttered, "Nice revolution. You got 4 people." I told her everything: the forged signature, the nightly harassment, the bizarre rock shrine behind my shed with a plaque reading "Pioneers of HOA Perfection." She flipped through her folder and said, "There's a clause they don't want you to know about. Page 82 of the Master Guidelines. They can't touch your property if you're physically present for more than 24 hours. I stared at her, then at the hammock in my yard. "So if I camp out, they're screwed?" She nodded. "It's a force field of boredom and bug spray." The next morning, I pitched a tent in my backyard with snacks, water, and muffin by my side. I live-streamed it, announcing to my 3 VYUers, "We will not be trimmed. We will not be weed-whacked. We will not be moved." At first, the crew ignored me, scribbling citations and Leah VY-ing snarky notes on my mailbox. Then Karen saw me. She stood on the sidewalk, baffled, as I waved from my hammock. She marched over and said, "You're VY-olating the noise balance protocol with that wind chime." I pointed to the empty hook. "You took my wind chime." She blinked, fuming. "It's still echoing non-compliance." Over the next 48 hours, they got creative. One guy mowed perfect circles around my tent. Another came inches from my face with a hedge trimmer, working on a bush I swear was fake. Karen planted a sign by my fence, "Temporary occupation zone, compliance delayed." It felt like a standoff with gardening tools. On day 3, they cranked up a noise machine just outside my property, looping an HOA budget meeting 6 hours of irrigation funding debates while I tried to eat a granola bar. My sanity was fraying like over-fertilized grass. Then, a miracle. Ethan, the chip-eating kid, had filmed Karen lecturing Muffin about leash compliance and posted it online. The VY Deo blew up. Suddenly, I was the lawn warrior, a minor internet hero fighting suburban tyranny. Comments flooded in, "Stay strong. Screw the mulch machine." A gardening influencer wanted to inter VYEW me from my hammock. Karen was Lee VYD. She filed a city complaint, claiming I was running an unlicensed campground. When that flopped, she parked a portable toilet in my driveway, labeled Emergency HOA Operations Facility. Petty but oddly useful. Sarah, meanwhile, was digging. She stormed the HOA's office, basically Karen's basement, and demanded public records. She hit gold, an HOA compliance incentive fund that paid bonuses for citations. Karen had racked up 300 VY-olations in 6 months, pocketing cash for fake Sarah VYCES like executive lawn therapy, $2,800 for sipping cucumber water in a chair. We took the EVY Denke to a local news station, and they ate it up. Suburban Showdown, Man Battles Rogue, HOA from Backyard Tent, aired at 6 p.m. I sat in my hammock, eating cold pizza with muffin, grinning as the anchor exposed Karen's fraud. That night, Karen upped the ante. A spotlight hit my yard, and there she was, standing on my lawn, declaring, under emergency compliance protocol, I'm establishing a temporary HOA field office here. A truck rolled up, hauling a windowless trailer. I croaked, "You're not serious." She patted the trailer. "It's within my rights." By Monday, the trailer was her headquarters. She hung blinds, flew an HOA flag, and microwaved fish that stank up the block. Neighbors stopped pretending not to notice, staring openly. One guy brought popcorn, asking if I was filming a reality show. Karen ran HOA meetings from my yard like it was City Hall. People traipsed through my gate for forms and flyers. She even warned folks about ideological turf rot. I still don't know what that means. I started charging for parking. Small wins. Sarah found a city code limiting temporary structures, but the city said the trailer was a commercial exemption. Karen had turned my lawn into a pop-up business. Sarah paced, muttering, then stopped. If they won't move the trailer, they'll move her for fraud. She'd found proof Karen was skimming HOA funds, billing for ghost mulch and fake hedge trims. We took the EVY Denke to the sheriff's office, expecting a shrug. But the deputy saw the forged signatures, doctored receipts, and footage of Karen calling herself interim neighborhood governor. He blinked. All right, that's enough. The next morning, 3 sheriff's cars pulled up, lights flashing across my fake hydrangeas. Karen peeked out the trailer, squinting. The deputies knocked. She emerged, clutching her clipboard, quoting bylaws and neighborhood sovereignty. A deputy cut her off. "Ma'am, this isn't a war zone. It's a yard." Karen pointed at my hammock, screeching, "This man is a threat to uniformity." The deputy sighed. "Ma'am, step away from the shrub." Then came the meltdown. Karen locked herself in the trailer, blasted Beethoven, and taped up a sign, "Do not disturb. Compliance negotiations in progress." Deputies tried a megaphone. She shouted about bylaw integrity. Then Mike, the mulch-bearing worker, stepped up, looking guilty. He knocked, whispered to Karen, and they argued. Suddenly, he turned to the deputies. "I didn't sign up for this. I thought we were planting trees, not staging a coup." He ditched his vest and walked off. One by one, her crew bailed. Some apologized. One guy hugged me. The deputies finally escorted Karen out, still muttering about grass height limits, as she was led to a patrol car. A neighbor clapped, then another. Soon, a dozen people were in my driveway, cheering like a dictator had fallen. The trailer was towed away that afternoon. I stared at my battered lawn patches gone, scorch marks from the noise machine, 7 random holes, but it was mine again. The neighborhood went quiet. No citations, no creeps behind bushes. Neighbors brought cookies, offered to replant my flowers. Tim admitted, "I thought you were nuts, but that was epic." At a community center meeting, Sarah was unanimously elected HOA president. In jeans and a tee, she unveiled a consent-based gardening ordinance. The crowd roared. That night, I sat in my yard with Muffin, the moon glowing, the grass healing. Sarah handed me a beer. "How's it feel to be a suburban legend?" I clinked her bottle. "Tiring, but worth it." She grinned. "Next time, try a condo." I laughed. "Nah, next time it's the desert. Just rocks, silence, and us." Muffin yipped like he agreed. It was over. But if it ever happens again, I'm calling the sheriff on day 1. So what do you think? Was I right to fight Karen's lawn tyranny? Or should I have just complied? Is your HOA a nightmare? Or am I just unlucky? And how far would you go to protect your yard? Drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. I want to hear your stories.